The burden of having lost his own son didn't detract one piece of his pride. Not one recollection, not one common tale, not even a moment's hesitation to actually accept who Garrison was. While Janelle was barely standing upright at the Humane Society, overcome with the memory of her son's kind heart and affection for rescue cats, Cody was out in Wyoming, rambling on about old signs he used to sell, as if sadness were merely a plot twist in a play he must continue to act. And Robyn, when she said that, it may be a sad day, it wasn't just cold. It was icy. The room grew quiet, but not a reassuring quiet. It was deafening in its silence, shouting the lack of actual emotion. And I must wonder, how did we get here? How did a man once surrounded by laughter, children, and this so-called vision of plural love become someone this emotionally empty, this indifferent, this openly self-absorbed? How did a family once almost 24 strong break apart to the point where the kids are mourning not just a brother, but a father who is very much alive and actively choosing to be absent? This isn't just another family split. This is a complete unraveling of character unfolding before our very eyes. Hello, everyone. I'm Emma. Welcome back to the show. If you've been watching this family come apart at the seams in real time and you've got an opinion, drop it in the comments because I want to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video because we're going deep into what actually went down with Cody Brown, how ego, favoritism, and emotional immaturity gradually permeated every nook and cranny of this family. This was never a romance. This is the fallout. And it's time that we admit it's not anything else. Earlier on in the early seasons, Cody presented himself like a force of nature, brimming with energy, barreling into shot with that crazy halo of curls, telling jokes, packing kids into the van, spouting love, harmony, and the notion that plural marriage was about creating something larger than yourself. He referred to it as a principle. He sold us the dream. One large mixed family, one dad, 4 wives, a house full of kids, all raised enveloped in faith and family, and for a short time it seemed like it just might work. He talked of fairness like it was holy, spending his time attempting to make each wife feel noticed. He'd sit with the children for deep conversations, schedule family activities, get everyone together even when it wasn't easy. There was effort. You could sense it. The intention was there, even if the execution didn't always land. But that version of Cody? He feels like a stranger now. Jump ahead to the most recent seasons, and it's as if we're watching someone who's completely checked out. The spark is gone, replaced by this vacant, defensive, emotionally distant shell of a man. He steps into scenes as if he's somehow above the chaos, talks like everyone else is the problem, and wields silence like a weapon, one that cuts far deeper than any shouting match ever could. His role as dad now feels more like a title he puts on for the cameras rather than something he lives for the kids. And the kids? They've picked up on it. We've seen it in Gabe, in Garrison, even Savannah. They don't just seem hurt, they seem done. Done trying. Done holding on to hope. Done pretending this man is still showing up for them. But maybe the most devastating part? The manner in which Cody now talks about them. He's branded his own sons narcissists, blamed them for being disrespectful, undermining him, being disloyal. He's diminished them to nothing more than gossips and liars. And then, that moment when he literally described their anatomy as pencils. It wasn't just wildly tone-deaf, it was brutally cruel. He says things like, "They're just jealous," or "they poisoned each other against me," and all of a sudden you realize this isn't a man working towards repairing relationships, it's a man attempting to protect his ego. Somewhere along the line, being a father became being offended. This isn't parenting anymore. It's posturing. The rift between Cody and his children has been one of the most painful, undeniable breakdowns in Sister Wives. This isn't about spats over nothing or teen pushback. This is profound, emotional damage, wounds that haven't merely tested the relationship between father and child, but have left it in ashes. Let's discuss Garrison. He wasn't merely some supporting player. He was loved, he was funny, he had dreams, and he worked hard to build a life for himself. A home, a steady job, service in the National Guard. But beneath all that, he struggled with something you couldn't easily see: rejection. Garrison made more than one overture to connect with his dad emotionally. He wanted connection, guidance, some sign that he was important. That's all that he needed. But what did he receive in return? Distance, silence.
Accusations. During the seasons that precede his untimely death, Cody barely gave Garrison the time of day, unless to criticize him. He caricatured his own son as disobedient, disloyal, bitter. He even had the nerve to call him jealous. Jealous of what, precisely? Of a father who would not show up? And then there is Gabriel. Gabe, the soft-hearted one. The boy who wore his heart on his sleeve. We all recall that gut-wrenching moment when Gabe recounted the tale of attempting to call his dad on his birthday last COVID, just wanting some recognition. Instead, Cody brushed him aside. No birthday greetings, no embrace, just brusque words, then a sudden hang-up. That wasn't just a phone call gone miss. That was a breaking point, a crack that changed everything. Gabe wept during that interview. He couldn't even get out the words. And Cody? He hardly twitched. No introspection, just defensiveness. And Savannah, the youngest of Janelle's children, she hasn't had much to say, but her silence speaks volumes. She hasn't spoken to her father in over a year. And Cody knew it. He said it on camera, then shrugged. This isn't a distant cousin we're talking about. This is her father. And yet, he let time slip away as though it was someone else's job to close the gap. As if he wasn't the adult. As if it's normal for a child to carry that kind of heartbreak on her own. And then there's Maddie. She didn't hold back. She's spoken out, boldly and unequivocally, on social media. She's the one who gets the bigger picture. The pattern. She's called out the favoritism, the unequal treatment her brothers received, the hypocrisy that's been permitted to flourish. When the family split apart, Maddie didn't mince words. She knew exactly who was showing up and who wasn't. All of it came to a boiling point during the memorial episode for Garrison, while Janelle, Christine, and the rest of the family were deep in the heart of grief. Swollen eyes, cracking voices, sharing real stories about who Garrison was. Cody and Robyn, they were in Wyoming, on vacation, at an amusement town, riding stagecoaches, talking about signs they used to sell. Not a single moment of remembrance. No mention of Garrison. Not even a pause for the heartbreak unfolding within their family. Robyn muttered, "It might be a sad day." That was it. No, I'm sad. No shared memories. No emotional connection. Just distance. Just detachment. And it wasn't because it's not that they couldn't. They had the opportunity. The camera people were there. There was time. There was room. They just didn't use it. And when Cody finally sat down to talk about Garrison, he still couldn't help making it all about himself. "I held him first," he said, tears in his eyes. And yes, sorrow looks different to everyone. But when every other sentence begins with "I," and none of them start with "he was," or "I miss him," or "I should have," it stops being about grieving a son and begins being about preserving an image. Where the rest of the family mourned a son, a brother, a friend, Cody appeared to mourn his conception of himself as a father. Not the truth, not the reality. And that's what cuts the deepest. If Cody's breaking down has been loud, out of control, and public, then Robyn's part in all of this has been quieter, more deliberate, and in so many ways, just as destructive, if not more. Robyn has spent years constructing a very deliberate narrative. The soft-spoken outsider, the misunderstood wife, the woman who only ever longed for peace. But peel back the carefully timed tears, the practiced trembling voice, and what you're left with is someone who has actively distanced herself from the rest of the family, especially the kids who weren't biologically hers. Her emotional manipulation isn't loud or explosive, it's subtle. It's in the way she spins every situation so she's the one who's wronged, even when the truth contradicts. For years, she's wept about her children being treated differently, about how difficult it's been to be accepted by the other wives. But now, in the harsh light of how distant and absent she's been from Cody's other kids, especially since Garrison's death, it's evident. The exclusion wasn't something that happened to her. She contributed to it. In the cruelest moments, such as the ones involving Garrison's death, Robyn didn't seem grief-stricken. She looked inconvenienced. Her words were chilly, nearly mechanical. She called the day he was buried a sad day. Not, "my heart is broken." Not, "I can't believe he's dead." Just, "Cody is sad." But where was she sad? Where was any evidence that she thought of Garrison as part of her family? And then, of course, there are the children. Solomon and Ariella are little. It makes sense that they'd be more protected. But Aurora and Brianna? They've grown up in this family too. Garrison. They spent holidays with him, celebrated birthdays together, took family vacations. He wasn't some far-off relative. He was a part of their lives.
And yet, in the scenes intended to pay tribute to his memory, Aurora and Brianna's presence seemed nearly non-existent. No tears, no words, only silence. In contrast, Savannah, Maddie, Gabe, they were open, they were authentic, exhibiting the raw, unvarnished sadness that exists only when someone mattered greatly to you, and what's even more impossible to ignore? Cody, so entangled in Robyn's sphere, he doesn't even appear to notice the others. Robyn doesn't have to shout to guide him. She steps back, she whispers, she becomes the tired, long-suffering wife, and Cody obeys. The more Robyn wept about how unsafe she felt, the farther away Cody moved from the other children, one by one. At first it was tension, then distance, then silence, until all that was left surrounding him were Robyn, her 4 children, and a man who used to refer to himself as father of many, now hanging on to the one place where he's never been in doubt, never mistaken, and this isn't just sad, it's infuriating. Because in a moment when the family required coming together, needed love, Robyn remained in her bubble of safety. No overture, no vulnerability, no attempt at connection. And that lack, that non-presence, spoke louder than any tear she's ever cried on camera. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. This isn't all about Cody and Robyn anymore. TLC, the very network that provided a platform for this family, is part of the problem. They've watched the breakdown unravel before their eyes in real time. They've seen the backlash, read the comment sections flooded with disbelief and anger. And yet, they continue to hand Cody and Robyn the spotlight, like we're all just waiting for their redemption arc that's never coming. Think about it. In the episodes following Garrison's passing, who got the most screen time? Was it Janelle, crying at the Humane Society, remembering her son's gentle love for rescue cats? Was it Savannah, showing up with quiet strength beside her mom despite all the heartbreak? Number we barely got a glimpse before cameras cut back to Cody in Wyoming, rambling about memories of childhood and signs, literal signs, on sticks, that no one watching cared about. And let's be real, that wasn't editing oversight, that was on purpose. They cut through a beautiful, raw, emotional scene at the shelter just to return to Cody's narcissistic monologue. Robyn and her children were seen wandering around like they were on some happy vacation, laughing, sightseeing, having a good time. While the rest of the family sat in mourning, weeping at a tragic loss, how out of touch do you have to be to treat it like background noise? And the fact that TLC continued to air that, they didn't edit it out, they didn't remove it, that was a decision. By this point, the viewers are finished. Just browse the comments, read the forums. Viewers are skipping every single Cody and Robyn scene. Some are skipping full episodes. Others have gone so far as to say, "I'm not watching anymore." And you know why? They're not stupid. Fans can recognize the editing tricks. They recognize when a narrative is being twisted to cover the wrong individuals. Seeing the most emotionally hollow, least engaged members of the family receive the most airtime. It doesn't merely miss the point, it's like a slap in the face. Nobody signed up to see a pity parade masquerading as a family redemption story. They tuned in for truth, for change, for the messy but authentic path to healing. And instead, they're getting two individuals playing house among the ruins of a family they assisted in burning down. But even amidst all this destruction, two women still rise. Janelle and Christine. They've been the real foundation keeping this broken family intact. While Cody and Robyn play the victimized victims in their own personal drama, Janelle and Christine have been appearing, supporting their children, supporting one another, holding space for sorrow while still standing tall in the midst of their own hurt. If you want to witness true strength, look at their children. Let's talk about Janelle. She doesn't get nearly enough credit for being the calm, steady heartbeat of this entire family. That moment at the Humane Society, after Garrison's passing, was one of the most honest things we've seen all season. Janelle holding back tears, speaking softly about the weight of losing her son. It wasn't for show. It wasn't for sympathy. It was real, raw, human. While Cody was off in Wyoming doing who even knows what, Janelle was living through a mother's worst nightmare in front of cameras and still managed the strength to remain standing for the remainder of her children. She didn't demand attention. She didn't act. She mourned gracefully. She bore it as she has always, quietly, with love, for those still remaining. And then Christine, and to see her change.
It's been nothing short of a revelation. Watching Christine develop, not only as an individual, but as a mother, has been nothing less than amazing. She evolved from the quiet, frequently neglected wife to a woman who stood her ground and protected her children. And let's not sugarcoat it. When Christine finally left Cody, that was not simply another twist in the plot. It was history in the making. It was one of the most empowering, liberating moments on Sister Wives ever. That wasn't a breaking up. It was Christine reclaiming her life, her dignity, and putting an end to the emotional hunger she'd suffered for so long. You could see it all over her face, the pain, the fatigue, but also the resilience. That was the face of a woman who had been worn down emotionally, yet still got up and made the choice for freedom. And she didn't do it just for herself. She did it for her children as well. Because her children, they emanate the same strength. Take a look at Peyton, Mykelti, even Maddie. They are earthed. They are emotionally intelligent. They know who they are, and they know their worth. Look at Maddie's interview. She didn't pull any punches. She talked with a clarity that only comes from someone who's cut through the rubbish and chosen not to let it define her. She made it clear. They're not waiting around for Cody to suddenly materialize and act like a dad. They've moved on because they had to, because their mothers showed them how. Cody never provided them with the emotional foundation they deserved. But what about Christine and Janelle? They did. Whereas Cody sidestepped his emotions and shirked responsibility, these two women were carrying the emotional burden of a whole family. They provided their children stability, sympathy, and skills to cope with tragedy with courage rather than shame. In a family coming apart at the seams, it's been Christine and Janelle doing the heavy lifting, the actual parenting. They modeled for their children not only how to survive, but how to flourish in spite of the agony. Yes, Cody might be the biological father, but it's these women who have raised a generation of strong, intelligent, and self-assured children. And the reality? It didn't have to end like this. If Cody Brown had even a shred of the emotional complexity he professed to believe in, if he had arrived with presence rather than with pride, with love rather than ego, this tale could have played out entirely differently. Perhaps the children wouldn't be sitting with a lifetime of emotional abandonment. Perhaps the women who loved him wouldn't have had to walk away just to survive. They weren't just stretched thin. They were pushed to the breaking point. Because in the end, Cody's emotional immaturity didn't just break up marriages. It broke everything. Relationships, trust, and the very definition of what family is supposed to be. And as the wreckage continues to accumulate season after season, you have to wonder, How much longer is TLC going to continue sponsoring Cody and Robyn? How many more episodes do we have to sit through watching the same two people rewrite their own stories while everyone else bleeds quietly in the background? Let's be real. This is not the first time they've been given the center stage, while the ones who've really borne the emotional brunt get downgraded to supporting players in their own tale. If this is the chapter TLC wishes to continue writing, they had better see the audience isn't buying it. Because the core of this tale? It's not Cody. It's not Robyn. It's not the victim syndrome. It's Christine. It's Janelle. It's the children. They're the ones who've kept this show together. They've given us the truth, the heartbreak, and the strength. If TLC really wants to tell a story that matters, then it's time to turn the lens away from the chaos and towards the people who are actually fighting for their own peace. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Cody can ever really change? Is there any way left for healing here? Or are we witnessing the last pages of what was formerly a revolutionary, but now sorely broken family dynamic? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss. And if you're here for the authentic stories, the honest truth, and the voices that need to be heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to listen. Because this isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new page. One that's no longer about dysfunction, but about healing. And the individuals who've been patiently but forcefully advancing this narrative all along. Thanks for watching.